Morning light spilled gently over the red earth of Igbale village, painting long shadows beside the thatched halls and modest bungalows. The rooster's crow mingled with the distant beat of a gong talking drum from the next compound, a rhythmic language of his own, greeting the dawn. In the courtyard of the Adeosun family compound, old Baba Adeyemi sat on a wooden stool under the ancient mango tree. Dressed in a faded Ashoke clothes wrapped around his body and a matching cap, he looked every bit the respected elder he was. His eyes, clouded with age yet bright with purpose, scanned the awakened village as he sipped hot ogi from a wooden bowl. He reflected on how far his children and grandchildren had journeyed from home. At his feet, a little boy chased a chicken, giggling, until his mother called him inside. Baba Adeyemi smiled faintly at the scene, but his thoughts were far away. He was remembering the voice of his grandson, Adetayo, now a grown young man, and wondering when he would hear that voice again here in the village. On a low table beside Baba Adeyemi lay a talking drum and a faded photograph. The photo showed 3 generations of the Adeosun family standing in front of this very compound. Baba Adeyemi in his prime, his son Kunle as a young graduate in a crib suit, and little Adetayo, barely 5 years old, squinting at the camera while clinging to his father's leg. Baba Adeyemi ran a wrinkled finger over the child in the photo. "Ọmọ mi ti dàgbà," he whispered in Yoruba, a fond smile on his face. "My child has grown." It had been years since that photo was taken, and years since Adetayo had spent more than a day in Igbale. Nearby, Mama Funke, his daughter-in-law, swept the dusty yard with a short broom made of palm fronds. Each stroke raised small swirls of red dust in the good morning light. She paused to greet the old man respectfully. "Ẹ káàárọ̀ o, Baba," she said softly, dropping to her knees in a gentle courtesy. "Good morning, Father." "Káàárọ̀ o, ọmọ mi," he said gently. "Good morning, my child." Pleased with her respect, Baba Adeyemi set down his bowl of pap. "Ṣé Táyọ̀ ti dé?" he asked in Yoruba, meaning, "Has Tayo arrived?" There was a hopeful tone to his voice as he mentioned his grandson's name. Mama Funke shook her head. "He will come today, Baba. Kunle just called. They left Lagos at dawn," she replied in a reassuring tone. She resumed her sweeping, adding quietly, "He has some work. That's why they haven't been here in so long." There was a note of apology in her voice. Baba Adeyemi breathed out, a deep hum of mixed longing and mute disapproval. He leaned on his carved walking stick and rose slowly. The old man's tall frame had stopped with time, but there was dignity in his movements. A river that forgets its source will dry up. The proverb hung in the morning air. Mama Funke bit her lip and looked down, not sure how to respond. She knew he was thinking of his grandson. The saying was a gentle rebuke that meant more for absent ears than for hers. Baba Adeyemi walked to the edge of the compound, where the dusty road led towards the center of the village. He could see a few neighbors already out and about. Women balancing their baskets on their heads heading to the market. An old man leading a cow by a rope. Children in blue and white school uniform kicking up dust as they ran along. Everyone who passed paid respect to him. "Ẹ káàárọ̀ o, Baba." "Good morning, Baba," called a young man on a bicycle. An elderly neighbor woman, Iya Alaro, stopped by the fence to ask if preparation for the upcoming Egungun Masquerade Festival were underway. Baba Adeyemi assured her that everything was in order. As the Baale, he carried the responsibility of overseeing traditional events like the Egungun Festival, which would take place in 2 days' time. As he spoke with Iya Alaro, Baba Adeyemi's mind wandered back to his family. This year's festival would be special. He had insisted that his son, Kunle, bring the children home to witness it. They must remember who they are. He had urged Kunle over a cracking phone weeks ago. These children, they have forgotten their origin, Kunle had agreed, albeit after some hesitation about whether his busy son could make the trip. Now, with the festival near, the old man was filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Would his grandchildren understand the significance of the masquerade dancing to honor the ancestors? Would they show the proper respect to the Egungun spirits and to the elders of the community? Or would they stand at a distance, distracted and disinterested, like outsiders in their own homeland? He sighed and thanked Iya Alaro for her visit. After escorting her out, Baba Adeyemi went inside to prepare for the day. There was yam to harvest for the celebration, a goat to be fed for the feast, and a meeting with other elders about final festival arrangements. As he moved through these tasks with deliberate care, the old man's thoughts remained on family. In a few hours, his home would be filled with laughter and voices of children and grandchildren, sounds that had been absent for too long. He allowed himself a small smile at that thought. However, deep the divide between old and young might seem, he believed it could be bridged with patience and love. The child who is not guided will easily lose his way, he reminded himself. And so, he resolved to teach and guide as gently as he could, like an elder should, praying it would be enough to keep the family united. In stark contrast to Ibale's calm sunrise, the city of Lagos bustled with chaos and energy. At dawn, the streets were already alive with blaring car horns, street hawkers calling out their wares, and commuters jostling for space. Adetayo, who everyone simply called Tayo, sat in the back seat of his father's aging Toyota sedan, which inched forward in the early morning traffic. He gazed out the window at the familiar sight of modern Lagos, towering billboards for mobile phone and banks, yellow Danfo minibuses packed with passengers, the glittering glass facade of a new shopping mall in the distance. This was the world he knew and loved, fast, connected, and forever on the move. Tayo adjusted the AirPods, playing music from his phone, and sighed as another commercial motorcycle zoomed past the car, narrowly missing a cart of oranges pushed by a hawker. The trip is off to a great start, he thought wearily. He had woken up at 4:30 a.m. to make his journey home to the village, a trip he had tried to avoid for weeks. In truth, he hadn't been back to Ibale in nearly 3 years. Lagos had a way of wrapping itself around him. There was always a university assignment, then a project at his new job, or an important social event. The village always felt a million away from his life in the city. In the driver's seat, Kunle focused on navigating a pothole, his knuckles tight on the steering wheel. Beside him, Mama Funke quietly hummed a gospel song. From time to time, Kunle glanced in the rearview mirror at his son, Tayo. He said, breaking the silence, "I hope you remember to bring something nice to wear for the festival. You know your grandfather will expect you in traditional attire." He spoke in English, but his tone carried the weight of Yoruba parental authority. Tayo pulled out one AirPod. "I brought a buba and Sokoto, Dad," he replied, referring to the traditional Yoruba men and top trousers. "But honestly, my jeans will be fine. It's just a village event." His voice was polite, but edged with impatience. His father frowned. "It's not just any event. It's the Egungun festival. Our family's ancestor will be honored. And your grandfather, it means a lot to him that you will be there. You must show respect. That means dressing properly." He paused, then added, "And speak Yoruba at least to greet. Don't go there and be forming big boy that cannot speak his mother's tongue." Tayo slumped slightly in his seat and muttered under his breath. He loved his father, but these lectures about tradition always made him feel like a scolded child. It wasn't that he hated Yoruba culture. He could understand Yoruba well enough, though he mostly replied in English, but he felt disconnected from the old ways. Beside him, his younger sister stepped from her nap and peeked out the window. "Brother Tayo, are we out of Lagos yet?" she asked, stretching. Shade was 18 and had just finished university. She had a foot in both worlds, comfortable speaking Yoruba with her parents at home, but was fluent in social media slang and pop music as any city girl. Unlike Tayo, she actually didn't mind these trips to the village. "I think we're in Ogun State now," she observed, noticing the landscape changing from densely packed buildings to open fields and palm trees. "Yes, almost at the Shagam interchange," Tayo answered, checking Google Maps on his phone. Signal was still strong here. A notification popped up about a tech networking event happening in VI that evening, one he would be missing because of his trip. He sighed and put the phone away. His mind drifted to the conversation he had with his father a week ago on the phone. He had tried one last time to excuse himself, sitting in a project deadline at the office, but his father's voice had been firm. "You will go home, Tayo. Family comes first." "Emma Gbagbe ile Tayo. Don't forget home," his father had said firmly. The meaning of that saying lingered in Tayo's mind now. No matter how important work was, he shouldn't make a child forget his family. Defeated, Tayo had agreed, and here was on the road to Ibale. As the car left the expressway and turned onto a narrower, bumpier road lined with tall grasses, the signal bars on Tayo's phone began to drop. He groaned quietly when a message failed to send. "We're almost there," Kunle announced, relief evident in his voice. The journey that had started at dawn was nearing its end as the sun climbed higher towards noon. Tayo took a deep breath and removed his AirPods completely, tucking them away. In the pit of his stomach, excitement and apprehension swelled together. No matter how modern he felt in Lagos, here on the dusty road back to his ancestral home, he wasn't sure about what to feel. Part of him was curious. Maybe the festival would be interesting to see after all this time. Another part of him was nervous about meeting Baba Adeyemi and the rest of the extended family. Would they judge him for how much he changed, Would he even recognize the place he had left so long ago? The car passed a crooked wooden sign that read, "Welcome to Ibale," in peeling paint. Tayo's heart skipped a beat. He straightened up, smoothing his shirt and brushing biscuit crumb off his jeans. Like it or not, he was home. The sun was high and bright when the Adeosho family car rolled to a spot in front of the familiar compound in Ibale. As soon as the engine died, Kunle opened the car door and called out, "Ẹ kúlẹ̀ o," a warm greeting announcing the arrival to those at home. From inside the compound, voices answered in delight. Old Baba Adeyemi emerged from the shade of the mango tree, his eyes lighting up at the sight of the car doors opening. Mama Funke stepped out first, with Shade right behind her. Tayo took a moment, drawing in a breath before he exited the car. The air was different here, warm and tinged with the scent of wood smoke and earth. It instantly brought back fragments of childhood summer spent in this yard. Tayo finally stepped out and walked with his parents and sister through the gate and into the compound. "Ẹ kú àbọ̀ o," a cheerful voice called, "Welcome back." It was Auntie Bisi, one of his father's younger sisters, hurrying out from the kitchen house with her arms open. Tayo managed a smile and greeted her with a quick hug. But over her shoulder, he could see Baba Adeyemi standing expectantly. Shade had already gone ahead. She knelt down gracefully on both knees before their grandfather. "Good afternoon, Baba, ẹ káàsán sir," she said brightly, mixing English with Yoruba. The old man placed a loving hand on her head in blessing. "Ẹ kú àbọ̀ ọmọ mi, welcome my child," he replied with a broad grin. Then Baba Adeyemi turned to his grandson. Tayo's heart thumped. He knew what to do, but he hadn't performed the traditional greeting in years. Stepping forward, he dropped down and stretched himself flat on the ground before his grandfather, in a full Dobale prostration. He murmured, "Bami," as he got up, using the Yoruba word for my father to respectfully address his grandfather. "Good afternoon, sir," he added in English, keeping his eyes lowered out of deference. Baba Adeyemi's eyes glistened with joy he barely contained. He let out a warm laugh. "Adukpe Adetayo," he said in a hearty voice. "We thank God for your safe arrival, Adetayo." He put his grandson into a hug, patting his back strongly. Though thin and aged, the old man embraced heart strength. "Well done on the journey," Baba continued. "How was the road from the city?" he asked. Tayo stumbled for a response in Yoruba. "Oh da Baba, the road was fine," he managed to say. Kunle jumped in to elaborate in Yoruba about the traffic and how they left early, while Mama Funke and Auntie Bisi started unloading baskets of provisions from the car. As they busied themselves, Baba Adeyemi kept a hand on Tayo's shoulder, studying him proudly. "Oti poto, you have grown so tall," he exclaimed, switching to English for Tayo's sake. Soon, the whole family was inside, gathered in the main living area of the house. Though the house was a modest, simple bungalow with concrete floor and a tin roof, the warmth of welcome filled it. In the parlor, Tayo noticed a picture of him in a graduation gown, displayed proudly next to his father's wedding picture. He felt a twinge of guilt seeing how much his achievements meant to them. Auntie Bisi soon brought out bowls of amala, with steaming ewedu soup and spicy stew for lunch. The aroma made Tayo's stomach rumble. He realized he was hungry. They all settled on mats and low stools to eat. Tayo hesitated a second, glancing around for his spoon, but seeing none, he plunged his hand into the warm amala, rolling it into small ball just as his mother had taught him years ago. It was sticky and awkward at first, but when he dipped into the rich soup and took a bite, he couldn't help but smile. After lunch, while the women cleared the dishes, Tayo stepped outside to get some air. The village was in a lazy lone, typical of early afternoon after a hearty meal. He wandered toward the big mango tree at the edge of the compound, where he and Shade used to play as kids. To his surprise, he found his grandfather there, seated on a wooden bench in the shade, twirling his walking stick thoughtfully. Baba Adeyemi beckoned him over, and Tayo sat down beside him on the bench. "It gladdens my heart that you came," Baba Adeyemi said quietly. He spoke slowly in Yoruba so that Tayo could understand. He expressed how happy he was that his grandchildren had come home. Then he added softly in English, "It means a lot." He turned and looked at his grandson. "I know it is not easy to live your work and life in Lagos." Tayo shifted, surprised that Baba acknowledged this. He looked down at his hands. "Yes, thank you, sir," he replied in a mix of Yoruba and English. "I'm happy to see you too, Baba. I know you are of a different generation, but remember," Baba Adeyemi patted Tayo's hand, "the Egungun festival tomorrow is not just about old ways. It is about honoring where we come from, our lineage, our ancestors, the lesson that made us who we are." He paused, then added, "It is also about family, seeing everyone together, young and old. I have waited a long time to have my grandson with me on this day." Tayo felt a tightness in his chest at the gentle words. He didn't know how to respond. A part of him still felt like an outsider to these traditions, but sitting under the mango tree with Baba, he also felt the tug of belonging. Just then, Shade popped her head out of the front door. "Grandpa, Papa said it's time to go meet the elders for the final planning meeting," she called. Baba Adeyemi rose slowly, leaning on his stick. Tayo jumped up to help steady him, and the old man gave him an approving nod. "I must go for a while. Why don't you rest? Or you can come along and observe if you like," Baba offered. Tayo was about to say he would just rest. The journey and heavy lunch made him drowsy, but seeing the hopeful look in the old man's eye, he changed his mind. "I'll come with you if that is okay," he said, surprising himself. At the meeting, under a large Iroko tree in the village center, Tayo observed quietly as Baba Adeyemi and half a dozen other grey-haired men discussed the final detail of the Egungun masquerade procession. Which ancestral masquerade would lead? Which family would dance first? How to ensure the children kept a safe distance from the swirling costumes. Tayo marveled at the way his grandfather spoke authoritatively among them, yet with respect and warmth. The other elders listened to him, deferred to him on certain points. It was clear he was highly respected here, in ways Tayo had never fully realized. After the meeting, as dusk approached, Baba Adeyemi introduced Tayo proudly to the elders. Tayo greeted each one with a respectful bow and a quiet "Ekaale, good evening, sir," using the evening greeting. That night, after a lively dinner full of village gossip and laughter, Tayo lay on a mat in the front room, the same place he used to sleep as a child during visits. Shade was already dozing beside him. Just before he drifted off, he heard the soft beat of a talking drum somewhere in the distance and the faint melody of a traditional song. It was as if the village itself was singing a lullaby. Tayo closed his eyes, thinking of his grandfather's words about honoring where we come from and having the family together. Tomorrow was the big festival day. He promised himself he would try to keep an open mind. With that thought, he fell asleep to the comforting sounds of home. The dawn of the Egungun festival arrived with a cacophony of drums. By first light, Ibale village was already humming with anticipation. The steady gungun of the talking drum and sharp rhythm of bata drum reverberated through the air, calling people from their homes. Tayo awoke to the sound, momentarily disoriented, until he remembered where he was. Shade was already up, tying a pattern gele in front of a small mirror, excitement on her face. Happy festival day, she chimed. Tayo sat up on his mat and rubbed his eyes. In the corner of the room, his carefully folded traditional attire lay waiting. A deep blue buba and sokoto with a matching embroidered cap that his father had insisted that he wear. He dressed slowly, fumbling a bit of the unfamiliar loose trousers. When he emerged into the compound, he found the rest of his family already busy with preparations. In the yard, Auntie Bisi and Mama Funke were setting up large clay pot of food for the celebration feast. Fragrant jollof rice, pepper soup, and pounded yam with rich egusi stew. Neighbors smiled in and out, exchanging festival's greeting. Eku Odu, happy festival, they called to one another. The usually quiet village felt like a fairground. Children chased each other in new outfits, women balancing trays of food on their heads, and men gathered, adjusting their filler caps and polishing talking drums. Baba Adeyemi stood in the center of the compound, resplendent in his ceremonial attire. He wore a flowing Agbada robe of royal purple, with patterns of golden thread that glittered in the sun. Beside him, Kunle and a few other village elders discussed the lineup of the masquerade procession. When Baba spotted Tayo lingering in the doorway, he beckoned him over with a broad smile. "You look like a true Omo Yoruba today," Baba said proudly, eyeing Tayo's now traditional outfit. Tayo forced a small smile and joined the group. He noticed his grandfather carried a long horse-tail wig, a symbol of authority he could use during the festivals. Despite the lively atmosphere, Tayo felt a flutter of nerves. He was about to witness and be part of a tradition he barely knew. By mid-morning, a vibrant crowd had gathered in the village square under the scorching sun. The smell of fried plantain and grilled meat wafted through the air from vendor stores. Tayo stood close to his family as everyone pressed forward to get a good view. Drummers formed a half circle, pounding out intricate rhythms on the dundu and bata drums. At the edge of the square, nearly a dozen Egungun masquerades were assembling, each a towering figure draped head to toe in elaborate layers of clothes and raffia. Some with carved wooden masks, others with faces hidden behind rich fabrics. Children pointed in awe at the Egungun, and adults murmured prayers and greetings under their breath. Eku Ise Alabara, well done, mighty one, as one particularly imposing masquerade swept by swishing his colorful strips of clothes. Tayo watched in fascination as the masquerade began to dance into the square one by one, accompanied by the attendants who rang bell and kept spectators at a respectful distance. The first Egungun spun and leapt, the layers of his costume flaring like a giant kaleidoscope. The crowd cheered. Shade squeezed Tayo's arm and whispered, "Can you believe someone is inside there doing all that? It's amazing." Tayo nodded, though he felt like a mix of wonder and skepticism. Rationally, he knew these were performers, likely trained members of the community. But the reverence in his eyes of the onlookers made it seem like something more. He felt like a tourist in his own culture, trying to decode the meaning of each gesture and drumbeat. After several masquerades had taken their turn, the drumming reached a crescendo. An especially grand Egungun adorned in red and white clothes, one of the royal ancestors of Igbale, came forth. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and Tayo realized this was the Egungun representing his family lineage. "That is your great-grandfather's Egungun," Mama Funke leaned in to explain to her children. "Our family's ancestor spirits." Baba Adeyemi stepped forward then, motioning for Kunle and Tayo to follow. It was time for their family to pay homage. Tayo's heart pounded as he trailed his father and grandfather. The Egungun in red and white began to sway and stamp his feet dramatically, acknowledging their approach. Baba Adeyemi dropped to one knee and bowed his head deeply, speaking a respectful greeting to the spirit. Baba Nla Akunyiri, he intoned, "Great father, well done on your journey here." Kunle also knelt and touched his forehead to the ground in a gesture of honor. This was the moment they had prepared Tayo for, the moment to show respect on behalf of the younger generation. Awkwardly, Tayo lowered himself to one knee. He could feel dozens of eyes on him. The drummers softened their play, as if to heighten the drama. In the sudden relative quiet, the Egungun's heavy breathing could be heard behind his marks. Tayo swallowed, unsure what to do kneeling. His father glanced at him and quietly prompted, "Greet the ancestor." A bead of sweat rolled down Tayo's temple. He opened his mouth, but the former Yoruba word of greeting stuck his throat. Finally, in a hushed voice, he managed to say, "Greetings, ancestor," in English. It was barely audible. He hoped it was enough, but he could tell from the tightening of his father's jaw that it was not. A few people in the crowd tittered. Baba Adeyemi's eyes faded, disappointment flicking in his eyes. The Egungun tilted his head as if puzzled. One of his attendants stepped forward, addressing Baba Adeyemi. "Baba, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Is the young man afraid?" The question, though politely phrased, hung out clearly. Some onlookers murmured. Tayo's cheek burned with embarrassment. He wasn't afraid. He just didn't know how to participate properly. He felt anger at himself and a prickling resentment at being put on the spot. Before he could think, Tayo blurted out in English, I'm sorry. I don't know the words." He immediately regretted saying it aloud. His voice sounded small and out of place against the backdrop of drums and Yoruba chants. A hush fell over those nearby. Shade's eyes widened as she put a hand on his arm to steady him. Baba Adeyemi slowly rose to his feet. He thanked the Egungun attendant and made a gesture to signal the end of this family homage. The masquerade moved on with a switch of his robes, and the drummer gradually increased their tempo again, leading the crowd's attention onward. But the mood in the Adeosun family group was sober. Baba Adeyemi turned to Tayo, his face turned with disappointment. In the noise of the resumed festivities, no one else heard their exchange. "My son, even a simple Yoruba greeting you could not offer," Baba Adeyemi said, with his voice trembling slightly. "The child not taught at home will learn so elsewhere," he muttered, using a proverb to convey his frustration that Tayo hadn't learned what he was supposed to. Tayo's temper, already fragile from embarrassment, fled at that. "It's not my fault," he retorted, switching to English as his emotions surged. "No one ever taught me those things. You expect me to just know how to talk to an ancestor spirit? I live in the real world, Baba, not in this." He stopped himself, but the damage was done. Baba Adeyemi's eyes flashed. "Not in these words," he replied, his voice low but sitting. "Go on, say it. Not in this backward word. Is that what you think?" Tayo stood up fully, his hand shaking. "I didn't say that." "You implied it," his grandfather shot back. A few nearby relatives cast concerned glances, sensing the confrontation. Kunle stepped closer. "Baba ẹ jọ̀wọ́, father, please," he began, trying to calm him. But Baba Adeyemi held up his hand. Tayo felt a lump in his throat. He hadn't seen his grandfather this upset before, but he was upset too. "Grandpa, I didn't mean any disrespect. I felt awkward. I don't understand these things," he managed, half apologetic, half defiant. "I respect you, I really do. But the way you expect us to do everything exactly as you said is hard. Times have changed." "Shotigbo," Baba Adeyemi said bitterly, to no one in particular. "Do you all hear that? Times have changed. So the child no longer owes his heritage anymore." He fixed her with a stern stare. "The person you belong to is the person you will hurt. I am hurt, Adetayo." With that, the old man turned and began to walk away from the square, leaning heavily on his stick. Tayo stood there stunned and breathing hard. Shade was near tears beside him, and his father looked at him with a mix of disappointment and worry. Around them, the festival continued joyously, oblivious to the family drama that have unfolded at its fringe. Masquerades swelled and crowds clapped to the drumbeat, but a heavy silence fell between Tayo and his family. Kunle ran after his father to make sure he was alright, and Mama Funke gently guided Shade and Tayo back toward the compound. Back at the compound, the festivities echoed faintly behind them. Tayo sank onto a wooden stool under the mango tree, burying his face in his hands. He hadn't meant to ruin anything. Why did he feel so angry and guilty at the same time? He tugged up the embroidered cap and ran a hand through his hair, eyes singing with frustrated tears he refused to shed. A few minutes later, Kunle returned, helping Baba Adeyemi into the compound. Tayo's head shot up in alarm. His grandfather was walking slowly, looking frail and drained. The old man lowered himself onto the bench across the yard, breathing heavily. The purple abada that had made him look so majestic earlier now seemed to hang off him loosely. Is Grandpa okay?" Tayo asked quietly, standing up. "He felt dizzy," Kunle said tersely. "He'll be fine. He just needs to rest." but his eyes told a more serious story. Mama Funke hurried over with cool water and found the old man, who closed his eyes, whether from exhaustion or to avoid looking at Tayo. It was hard to tell. Tayo's chest constricted with a surge of guilt. He wanted to go over and help, but he hung back, uncertain again if his presence would be welcome. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of tense silence, Baba Adeyemi opened his eyes and beckoned weakly. "Adetayo," he called in a hoarse voice. Tayo did not hesitate. He walked over and knelt next to his grandfather, concern etched on his face. "Yes, Baba," he said softly. For a moment, grandfather and grandson looked at each other. Tayo could see the deep wells of sorrows and love in old man's eyes. In a gentler tone, Baba Adeyemi spoke, switching to English perhaps for Tayo's sake. "You think I did not know the world is changing, He shook his head slowly. "It changed for me too. I was a young man once, full of new ideas, eager to cast off what seemed old. But I did not pass enough to you. Maybe I assumed too much." He sighed. "But Adetayo, know that I push you because I don't want our lineage to disappear like smoke. We don't abandon a child's training for 2 years and expect him to know it on the third. Perhaps we left you too long in the city." Tayo felt a tear escape down his cheek. He quickly wiped it away. "No, Baba, I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have tried harder. I was embarrassed and I took it out on you. You have done so much for us and I never wanted to hurt you." Baba Adeyemi managed a faint smile. He reached up and rested a hand on Tayo's shoulder. "We both have spoken from hurt today, but it's never too late to learn. If the heart is willing, your heart, I know, is good." Tayo nodded, biting back a sob. He gently clasped his grandfather's hand. "I promise I will learn more about our ways. I don't want to forget or to let it all go. I felt out of place, like I can't be both Yoruba and modern at the same time." His grandfather's eyes softened further. But you can't. You must. This is exactly why you should be. The world changes, but we carry our roots with us wherever we go. I learned from you as well. Your education, your technology, your new ideas. We need those too." Tayo looked up, surprised. Baba Adeyemi chuckled softly. "You think we others do not see the value in your real world? Who encouraged your father to send you to the city for school?" "I did, because I know that for our family to thrive, we need both traditional and modern wisdom." Kunle and Mama Funke smiled where they stood nearby, recognizing the truth of those words. Under the mango tree, Tayo bowed his head. "You are right, Baba." He squeezed his grandfather's hand gently. "We need both. I need both." By now, Shade had joined them, tears on her cheek as well, and she knelt to hug their grandfather. "We are sorry, Baba," she said. "We will do better to honor our heritage." Baba Adeyemi embraced his grandchildren. Though still weak, he managed to pull them close. "And I will do better to understand your world too," he said softly. "Your music, your ambitions, I will not dismiss them. We will teach each other." Bow. "Yes, sir," Tayo and Shade chorused. Kunle cleared his throat. stepping forward with a smile. In his hands, he held the hot tail whisk Baba had dropped earlier. "Baba," he said, "the festivities will continue into the night. They will soon notice your absence. Should we return for the closing prayers?" Baba Adeyemi inhaled deeply and nodded. He stood slowly, this time, allowing Tayo to support his elbow. "Yes, let us go," he agreed. The colour returned to his face. "I must show this village that my family stands together." He looked at Tayo, a glint of pride in his eye. "Perhaps this time, Adetayo, you will stand by my side." Tayo straightened his back and gave a firm, respectful nod. "Yes, Baba, I will." As they made their way out of the compound, side by side, the evening sun cast long shadows on the trio: grandfather, grandson, and granddaughter, walking together. The distant sound of singing and drumming beckoned them, and in that moment, Tayo felt something settle comfortably inside him. A balance like a bridge connecting two shores, solid and sure. The two worlds within him were not at war after all. They were two halves of the same whole, united by love, understanding, and the unbreaking rhythm of family. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.